Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our December virtual town hall. Welcome to our UCCS faculty, staff, and students. We have more than 600 of you in attendance today, so thank you for taking the time to be with us. As I say every month, as long as this format continues to work for everyone, we'll continue to host these town halls each month. So my name is Chris Valentine. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Marketing Communications, and I'll be your moderator again for today's town hall. So let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to do in the next hour. So Chancellor Reddy, as usual, will have some opening remarks. So followed by Stephanie Hannenberg, our Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness, who will address our COVID-19 cases on campus and a little bit about testing that's coming up. And then we have our panel. I'll introduce them in a little bit, and they'll be able to answer your questions. We have some questions that were previously submitted, and then we'll open up for live questions. So as always, there's a link at the bottom of your page to submit questions. So we're going to do our best to get as many questions as we can in the time allotted. But based on your request, we allotted more time for questions during this town hall. So my hope is to have about 45 minutes today for your questions and answers. So feel free to jump in there, and as you hear the remarks, drop your questions in there for us. So we scheduled this for an hour. And we asked for your patience with any technology challenges. In November, I acknowledge we did have some challenges with technology, but in the last month or so, the team has been testing things, and we believe we've resolved all those problems. But know that we'll be recording this, and if we do fall off the feed at some point, we will have the clean version available, hopefully really soon, that you can click on and watch the part that you may have missed. So I apologize in advance for that, but we're doing our best to keep this running. As you noticed, all of us on the panel are actually on campus today just to have a little more reliable internet service on campus. So we're doing our best to avoid those technology challenges. So with that, let's dive right in. So I'd like to introduce our Chancellor, Reddy. Chancellor.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for the last town hall of the semester. I'm delighted Regent Chair Gallegos, Regent Vice Chair Smith, and Regent Grego are with us today. Their leadership is critical as we navigate these challenging times. Time has gone by so quickly this semester. I'm amazed at how much we've accomplished in spite of the extraordinary circumstances we continue to face. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you continue to do for our campus and our students. Let me begin with a huge congratulations to the class of 2020 who are graduating this Friday, including some of our very own faculty and staff. The class of 2020 showed true determination and grit in making it to the finish line of this semester. They're bringing their skills and abilities to a world that needs them more than ever before. I know I speak for the entire campus when I say we are so proud of you. The other exciting news is just yesterday, we received a gift of $3.5 million from the Anschutz Foundation. This incredibly generous gift will help us to substantially increase the number of engineering students at UCCS, helping the college to increase enrollment to 2,500 students by 2026. This facility will allow us to bring instruction of an astronautical engineering degree to Colorado Springs. This will allow us to support our community and industry in helping meet the future Space Command workforce needs. With this gift, we will have raised 73% of the expected cost for the proposed project. When completed, this building will be named the Anschutz Engineering Center. Now, for some other important updates. I know that for this town hall, at the top of everyone's minds are the plans we're making for the upcoming spring 2021 semester, which we announced yesterday. Let me address our plans. I spent this semester working closely with the cabinet, deans, and other stakeholders to decide what the spring semester will look like. We also consulted with the El Paso County public health officials to determine whether or not we could safely reopen campus in person in January. The health department said that they expect to see another spike in COVID-19 cases in mid-Jan following the holidays. So we will start the spring semester as planned on January 19th with fully remote course offerings and with very few exceptions on campus. Effective February 22nd, we'll once again offer a blend of in-person, hybrid, and remote courses, just as we did at the start of the fall semester. Residential students with a need for on-campus housing will be welcome to move in starting at the beginning of the semester. Move-in for all other students will be delayed until February with room and board costs prorated accordingly. We recognize the value of spring break, but we must also balance the risks associated with travel during this pandemic. The 5 days of spring break will be split into 2 shorter breaks. As we transition from remote learning, the first break will be February 17th through 19th. The second break will take place March 22nd through 23rd. I would like to remind ourselves that we made the health of our faculty, staff, and students a priority, and this decision aligns with that goal. I know our faculty and staff are wondering, what does this mean for them? Work will look much like the fall semester. If you have been working remotely, you'll continue to work remotely. The same is true if you have been spending time on campus. Research will look the same as it has after the Thanksgiving holiday. So research access is permitted for faculty, graduate researchers, undergraduate research assistants, and research staff. Please work with your supervisors if you have any questions, concerns, or issues. I'm also pleased to let you know that the Office of Information Technology, in partnership with the Faculty Resource Center, will start a new student assistance program for the spring semester that is aimed at helping faculty manage their remote courses. Communication about this program will be coming out within the next few weeks. This year, we had no choice but to become comfortable with discomfort. Our situation continues to change as we learn more about COVID-19 and the vaccines in production. Rolling out the vaccines nationwide gives me hope that we'll be able to return to in-person experiences sooner than anticipated. But we'll also have to be patient. Every US state determines how its share of the vaccine will be allocated to different counties. Understandably, our county health officials are focused on the health and safety of our most at-risk populations, including frontline medical workers and older adults. But the vaccine rollout is evolving, and we will keep you updated as we learn more. One thing is absolutely sure. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is reason to be hopeful that we'll be able to shake hands, offer full-sized classes on campus, laugh together, and celebrate in person. We may not know when to expect this, but we can expect that it is coming. This holiday season, I'm grateful simply for a reason to be hopeful. And I'm also grateful to each and every one of our phenomenal Mountain Lions. I want you to know that I hear your ideas and concerns loud and clear. After conducting a listening survey of campus, the Staff Association has just delivered their recommendations to the Cabinet for our consideration. Faculty Assembly gave their recommendations earlier in the semester. I'm committed to working with our shared governance bodies in continuing to find solutions to the challenges our faculty and staff are facing. For eligible faculty and staff members, I also hear you when you ask when to expect an end to furloughs. We know furloughs have been tough on the entire campus. We'll be watching our spring enrollments and revenue numbers carefully, and will gauge our ability to act after we see the numbers. Soon after we conduct the spring census on February 3rd, I will have more confidence in granting that relief. Finally, I have two updates on our leadership searches. First, Provost Search Committee, co-chaired by Professor Marianne Cutter and Dean Don Rabin, they let me know that the search process is proceeding as planned. As of December 14th, they received 70 applications, and they plan to interview the top candidates in late February. And second, I wanted to let you know that I've been working closely with the Faculty Minority Affairs Committee on the open EDI leadership position, which Dr. Stephanie Rose Spalding is filling in the interim. Based on the FMAC recommendation, I've decided to delay the search by one semester. This will allow time to plan how we're moving forward with EDI initiatives, as well as have more conversations with our campus citizens about what they envision for this position. One bonus of the delay is we might actually have the opportunity to bring the candidates to campus in person in the fall semester. So keep your fingers crossed with me so that we can see that day come true. Now, we have plenty more to share, but I know that many are eager to hear from our Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness, Stephanie Hannenberg. Stephanie, please take it away.
Thank you, Chancellor, and good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to let you know that last week, Billy Baptiste, our Director of Health Services, and I participated in a national COVID summit. And despite the varying amount of resources by campus, I have to say the biggest takeaway was that UCCS actually fared extremely well compared to our peers across the nation. And a large part of that, again, is thanks to everybody's efforts. Our faculty, staff, and students stepping up and doing the right thing actually helped us be in a better place than a lot of other places across the nation. For our campus update, our cases have slowed down with being remote. As we saw a spike with cases with the trend in the county, we are also seeing cases slow down just a little bit with the cases in the county. We've had 246 positive cases either found through testing in the Wellness Center or reported to us and confirmed through our local health department. The bulk of those were in November, and again, that coincided with our county health department spike. Because we don't get as many reported to us, if somebody doesn't say that they're at UCCS, there may be others that we are not hearing about as much right now in this remote period, but we are still tracing anything that gets reported to us. As I mentioned, the county is actually starting to see a decrease in the cases, which is a very positive thing. December 3rd was our highest point throughout the county, and we are now trending back to about where we were on November 19th, which is a positive sign. A lot of that is thankful to people doing the right thing for the holidays, limiting traveling, limiting the size of people that got together for the holidays. My hope is that if we can do that again for this upcoming holiday season, we will continue to see the trend slow down so that at some point we can get ourselves back into another level and be able to have more in-person offerings. For testing, we are doing rapid testing for our ill students still through the Wellness Center. We will be doing mass testing of all residential students prior to them moving back into the residence halls. They will be swabbed at the point of check-in, so that way we can ensure that we get all of the students. We are also exploring external options to do weekly surveillance PCR testing, which is the testing that takes a little bit longer. But if we can get this external partner to help us, it will allow us some opportunities, we believe, to also include faculty and staff in that future testing as well. We're working out those details. We have another meeting tomorrow, so hopefully we will have more information to share out soon. For vaccinations, UCCS has been what's called a POD, a point of dispensing, with the county for a couple of years now. We have participated in full POD drills with the county and state. We did an anthrax drill a few years ago, so we're fairly familiar with how we would set everything up. We did a test run with H1N1 for those who remember when we did a large vaccination clinic then. So we feel we have a good handle on the situation should we get some vaccinations. We set up yesterday, we did a pod walkthrough to make sure that we can set up adequately for the numbers and the hope of the vaccination coming to us. We're hoping to use the same external company to help with the vaccinations with the tracking so that we can provide the service for our faculty and staff and students. Priorities for who gets the vaccination continue to evolve, but as the Chancellor mentioned, first responders and those that are highest risk will be in that first wave. UCCS will not get any vaccine in phase 1B, which is when we would get some typically for some of our healthcare providers and our police officers, but there will be sites throughout Colorado Springs that we can go to. Our hope is that we will get the vaccine for phase 2, which would allow us to provide vaccinations for those that are having in-person contact with students. So faculty and staff that are still coming to campus to teach, student employees that are coming to campus to work as well. Because it'll come in waves, we will not be able to vaccinate all faculty and staff in that wave. The criteria is very clear that it has to be a true in-person contact, so we will work through that as we get the vaccine. We have requested that we do not get the Pfizer vaccine. It's a great vaccine, but it can take up to 10 minutes per shot. And given the large volume of people we hope to vaccinate, our hope is that we will get one of the other vaccines that we can run more people through our vaccination clinics in a more efficient manner. It looks like it may be spring before we're able to get that vaccine here, but as soon as we hear that we're going to have that allotment sent to us, we will start registration process for those that meet the criteria to be prioritized. We do recommend if you are on campus and you're doing the vaccination clinic, split up your teams so that everybody doesn't come at the same time. So that way, if anybody does have any side effects, which are typically pretty minor, could be a fever for 24 hours, could be soreness of the arm, headaches, but that way you are spacing out your teams so that you have everybody that can still come to work that needs to come to work. We will hopefully have a lot of vaccine available in phase 3, which is anybody in the ages of 18 to 64. That is likely to be in the summer, according to what the governor has released. We know that we won't have as many people around in the summer, but we will still plan to hold some pods on campus for our community members, UCCS community members. If anybody is high risk, they will most likely be going through their primary care provider office, so that way they can make sure they're a good candidate for the vaccine. And the hope is that we'll get to 60 to 70% herd immunity sometime this fall. That's when we're really going to see changes for this. So while we're getting to that point, this isn't going to be a quick fix, but it is a start to a long-term solution. We will still ask that in the spring, everybody's still wearing their face coverings, that you are doing your social distancing, good hand hygiene, limiting in-person activities. For those of you that are teaching in the classroom, leaving those doors open, rotating your students in through different shifts. All of that was key to us not having one outbreak in a class on campus this semester. So if we can continue those activities until we get to that herd immunity, I think by fall we'll see a much different situation. So with that, I will turn it back over for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Chancellor and Stephanie, for those remarks. So we're going to transition now, as promised, to spend a fair amount of time on our Q&A. So I'll introduce our panel in a second, but I want to let everyone know that there is a link to submit a question at the bottom of your page. Only a handful of questions have come in, so we have 45 minutes here to answer questions, and I don't have near enough questions to fill 45 minutes. So anything on your mind that you want to ask this group of experts from the campus, please take a minute and drop that question in the chat there at the bottom, or into the form there on the bottom of the page. So our panel today. So you heard from Chancellor Reddy. He'll stay with us, answer questions. Carlos Garcia, our Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, is with us today. Stephanie Hannenberg, our Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness, will stay and answer questions. Chuck Litchfield, our Vice Chancellor of Administration and Finance, is here with us. And Provost Tom Christensen. Let's dive into some questions here. So Chuck, we'll start with you off the top of the order here. So one question that came in, Chuck, it says, some of the CARES funding can go towards relieving employee student loan debt. Is anyone from our campus aware of this and looking into this for us?
Yeah, so I want to address that in two different ways, Chris. The CARES funding is not necessarily designed to be used to pay off employee student loans. CARES did give some federally owned student loan payment relief from the monthly loan payments during the crisis. As some of you may recall, the CARES funding did come to UCCS at just over $4 million, and that those monies were meant specifically for students, and we did give those out in grants. As an employee that's enrolled as a student, they could be eligible for any of the additional CARES funding that comes as student emergency relief, not necessarily because they're an employee, but because they're a student. If I encourage anybody who has loans, who has questions about this, to contact Javita Rogers in the financial aid office.
Thanks, Chuck, for clarifying that. I'll let you keep your mic on, and I'll have the second question just for you. The question is about vaccines. So will UCCS require faculty, staff, and students to take the vaccine before returning to campus? So I think the key there is the require.
Right, yeah, and there's a lot of discussion on this. And first of all, let me say right now, this is a public health issue, not an HR issue. Because the FDA has given emergency authorization for these vaccines, we cannot require anybody to take the vaccination. As the FDA goes through the process to give authorization to the drug that is a full authorization, then the drug will go through the same public health process it goes through for things like the MMR shot that we require for students, right? Or anything else that appears on the shot record. And it's not a guarantee that the vaccination will at some point be part of that same program. As we all know, the flu shot is not mandatory. And so there's still a public health process that these vaccinations will go through. The university will honor that. We want to encourage everyone to take whatever healthy action that their primary care physician recommends for them and that they think is the right choice for their family. But we will not require it right now.
Thanks, Chuck, for clarifying that. So we'll transition to a couple of academic questions. So Provost Christensen, a couple of questions for you here. The comment is, I'm wondering, since we're in this remote learning pandemic, if UCCS will be offering more courses during the summer semester than typically that are not offered to help those who want to graduate on time to keep up with their credits needed. An example is given VAPA courses, some of the hands-on classes. So thoughts on that?
So it's a good observation, and we are going to be working on the summer schedule fairly soon. One of the complications we have with summer is that our faculty are primarily on 9-month contracts. And so anything we offer in the summer, we also have to pay for in the summer. So typically what you'll find is the classes that we offer in the summer are primarily classes that enroll enough students that it will be able to pay for the instruction and the costs associated with that instruction. So we'll see as we're developing the schedule how much we can do and how much we can add to the schedule. Certainly we are concerned about making sure that students are able to graduate in a timely manner. But there are constraints that we are having to work with as well.
All right. Second question for you, Tom, says, opening up a variety of teaching options for faculty has been the silver lining, allowing many of us to teach on new platforms and stretch our pedagogy in positive ways. I would hope some of these alternatives will continue to be offered and supported post-pandemic. Is this true, or is it being considered? What thoughts there?
Absolutely something that we're, in fact, I've been exchanging emails today with people from the Office of the Registrar and Faculty Assembly on exactly that topic. We all recognize that the greater diversity of ways of offering courses that we have, been working with during this time has actually been an advantage, a silver lining, as the person who asked the question said. So absolutely, we will be continuing those. We're working now on what does that definition look like in a post-pandemic time? We defined many of those modes with the pandemic in mind. So now what we're doing is trying to define what will those modes look like as we enter a more normal time period, hopefully in a number of semesters here.
Thanks, Tom. That's all the academic question I have right now, but to everyone else, thank you. The questions are flooding in now, so we're gonna have a full hour here, I think. So thanks for, but keep submitting them. We got plenty of time. So Chancellor, a couple of questions for you that have come in. So the first question for you is, has the administration given any thought to providing staff an extended paid leave for Christmas break as a show of support?
So we've been continually talking how best to support our faculty staff throughout since we went into the pandemic since March. As you probably recently saw, we did announce more administrative leave days during the holiday break. So that's what we've done so far, but not necessarily extended the holidays itself.
Great. Transition now, question about online programs. So it's regarding online degree programs and traditional degree programs. Is there a tuition difference between the two?
So if it is a purely online program, that courses are really not offered that much on campus, then you have a $100 tech fee that's associated with it. But for the pro classes that we moved into the online arena because we didn't have a choice, those classes are not charged anymore. So there's no difference between the two. And also ask Chuck and Tom to chime in if they see anything different in it.
The only distinction we might make is that there is at least one program, the RN to BSN program that we are running through extended studies, and that does have a different tuition rate than our regular on-campus classes, but that's an exclusively online program and one that competes nationally.
And I just want to add, Chancellor, that the Bursar's office is in the process of going back through with all of the departments to review academic course fees that may or may not be applicable based on the choice that we made for spring. And since the spring bills haven't gone out yet, if we can make those adjustments prior to, we're working with the faculty to make sure we understand what that looks like.
Okay. Thank you all for clarifying that. So, Chancellor, lots of questions coming your way here. So the question box is filling quickly. So, so far, 3 people have asked, what is spring enrollment looking like so far? So you can talk briefly about spring enrollment.
So at this point, as of last Friday, we've been tracking 12.5% down, which is, again, heading in the right direction, given that we were down over 20% just a few weeks ago. So I'll punt that question to Chuck to fill in the rest of it, the story.
Sure, thanks, Chancellor. So first of all, I want to remind everybody that when we talk about being 12% down, we actually, as we track enrollment, we compare it to the previous year. So we are comparing ourselves right now to a non-COVID situation. So I don't want people to be alarmed by minus 12%. That's how we compare ourselves. What I think the other way to look at this is, how are we tracking to our budget? And the truth of the matter is that we've been improving in our spring enrollment by about 2% a week. And that is a steeper improvement curve than we normally see. And so while we started really far behind, one of the things that we have seen in this enrollment cycle in the COVID environment is we start further behind, but we catch up more. And we have found that as we inform students about what our plans are, that generally helps them make decisions about how they want to enroll. And so, one of the things that we are hoping to see is feedback from students about what this decision about spring looks like, and to encourage them to recognize that our entire message is we expect their engagement in the type of experience that they expected pre-COVID to be improving as the semester goes along. And so we want to encourage them to continue to enroll. And with regard to budget, we will be on budget if we end up at minus 5% compared to last year. So even though it's a minus, we would actually be doing really well. And that's why the Chancellor said we've improved really well. We think that has a lot to do with our student engagement. We want to encourage our returning students to come back and work through spring with us.
Also, remember that we took a very conservative approach for the fall, following national trends. That means we have done much better from a budget perspective because we're only down around 4% for the fall. So that's going to help negate any challenges. So one of the questions I'm sure would come is, will there be more significant budget cuts and so on in the spring? That won't happen because we took a pretty financially conservative approach to it. So I'm not seeing any bigger problems because of the trend that's continuing right now.
Yep.
Thanks to you both. More questions came in on that, so thanks for giving such a thorough answer to that. For our viewers, there was an issue submitting questions if you were anonymous. We apologize, a box was clicked wrong, so that has been unclicked. So if you do have a question you want to submit anonymously, please go back in and submit that question for us. So, Chancellor, keep your mic open here. So more questions for you. The question came in is, have you looked at the Staff Association letter? And if so, how feasible are some of the suggestions that came in?
One of the things I'm so grateful for how well the cabinet is working with the staff governance, and I'm really, really impressed with all governance bodies that we're really working as one team. I think we really come together in this time of crisis. And I think the issues raised by staff are important issues that we should address, but we're also going through some extraordinary times. So I just want to, first of all, thank them for the hard work they're doing despite the challenges, but we're all committed to working closely with them to really resolve as many things as possible that the staff have brought forward. Like I said, I'm really pleased with the governance bodies. I think they are really working, having faith in what we're trying to do and work with them. So I really appreciate that they're coming out openly with the issues they have, knowing that we're going to work with them in resolving those as much as possible, given the situation we are in.
That's great. Next question, Chancellor, I'll let you start at a campus level, and Tom, you may want to weigh in from an academics level. It says, what lessons have we learned from the pandemic that will lead to long-term changes at UCCS beyond the pandemic? And any thoughts on what some of those changes might be? I know, Tom, you talked a little bit about it a few minutes ago in the other questions. So thoughts on some positive changes, things we've learned?
First of all, let me congratulate the person who asked that question, because that shows hope that we're going to get through this faster. So thank you for that question. Just even thinking forward is always how we live as human beings. We live with hope. So thank you for the question. And in fact, in the cabinet meetings, we do talk about these things. The question came up before about silver linings. I think we need to certainly think about what are the lessons learned and what are the things that we can use, because we're using technology like never before. So let's see opportunities in that. Our faculty who never taught an online class stepped up to talk the online class. So it'll be great to hear from them. Did they enjoy it? Did they like doing what they did? And the same thing would be true for students. Staff are supporting from home. How powerful is that? That we got the campus going without pretty much missing a beat. And I don't think I recall how hard all of us have worked this year than ever before, right? So let's make sure that we take some good lessons from this. I see opportunities in diversity. I see opportunities in bringing folks who are physically challenged into the workforce, because now we can hire from anywhere in the country or the world at this point. So I think we need to continue to explore, and my hope is that we'll engage in those conversations, because right now we're going through some real stress. So this may not be the best time to say, okay, what do we do next? I think we need to, at this point, I want to spread and talk more about compassion and great gratitude and showing grace towards each other, because we are all in this together. I think we're going to see better days moving forward. But let's maximize the good things that we have and what good things can come that because of the lessons learned.
Very good. I think you covered the academic side as well on that one, so I think appreciate that.
I just didn't know what Tom was going to say, so I thought I might as well cover that.
Stephanie, I have two healthcare questions for you. When is the phase 2 vaccination expected to be available for those teaching in person? And I apologize if they missed it during your presentation. I think you alluded to it, but if you can respond to that again, that'd be great.
Sure. The governor has come out with the new guidance for the different phases. It says spring for that one. So we're anticipating, I'm hoping February, maybe March. Phase 1A started, as most of you know, with healthcare workers this week. Moderna goes up with the Center for Disease Control and FDA tomorrow. The Advisory Council for Immunization Practices meets this weekend, so you will start to see vaccinations being put out a little bit more frequently after all these meetings. So I'm hoping end of February, maybe March.
All right. Keep your mic on. The next one, it said, it sounds like the relatively few cases we had on campus were not caused by classroom interaction. So the best you can determine, what were the sources of the cases that we had UCCS population, students, faculty, and staff?
Faculty and staff is harder because we only learn about a handful of them. I believe a lot of those were probably their community contacts. Our students, a lot of them live together, and that is where the bulk of the spread was. We might have 6 students that live in a home together, 7 students, and they might date somebody in another household. So they went and watched movies, and then somebody else came over to hang out with them. And so it kind of snowballed outside of campus. The majority was social settings or work, their workplace outside of UCCS. So there were a couple industries in the community where we have a lot of UCCS students that work together, but on campus that was not an issue. It was strictly community spread, living, social activities, and work, some religious events as well.
All right, thanks. We have a few more healthcare questions in a minute, but we're going to transition back to the Chancellor. So, Chancellor, can you explain the idea behind the change in spring break?
I couldn't believe that question came up, but I'll do my best to answer that. This was such a tough conversation. I just want to say, let me repeat what I said in my remarks. We have always made the health and safety of our campus citizens a priority, even in front of the financials that we struggle with every year. So I just want us to remind ourselves, this is about keeping everyone safe. It was a tough call. Tom can tell we had explored 5-6 different options and really did went through a lot of struggle, got a lot of input. The way we landed is we thought we just didn't want to give up the spring break because some of the schools are pretty much giving up spring break and ending the semester early. So that's an option we explored. Keeping the spring break the way it is, we felt would be very risky because the thing that we didn't want to do is go remote after that spring break in a couple of weeks if the spike has happened. So that was taken into consideration. So it was really driven by health factors. And that's a reason to split the break into 2 pieces, one in February and one in spring. So my apologies for those people who have plans for those, but I feel like the safety of our campus community comes first. I'm gonna ask our other cabinet members if I missed something that in our conversations we had to share their thoughts.
I'm not on cabinet, but I was also gonna say that when we did the student listening sessions, we heard that the students wanted to have 2 longer breaks if they could possibly. So I think that there was a lot of push from the students for that option as well, from what we had heard.
So we do feel like we are causing some grief for some people, and that's not our intention. We really thought about it a lot because we are used to that tradition, but my plea to all of you is please sacrifice this for this semester, not just for yourselves, but for your fellow students, fellow colleagues. This would be an important thing for us. I regret that we're not able to do it this semester, not because we didn't want to, but really, this is about all of us sacrificing for the common good.
Thanks for explaining that. There's other questions at the bottom of the list that are popping up, so we might get back to spring break in a minute, but we have a few other questions here in the middle. So Provost Christensen, a couple of academic questions for you. It says, what classes may be considered for in-person instruction for the beginning of the spring semester? For example, are laboratory classes under consideration? Does it make a difference with upper or lower divisions? So thoughts around who is going to be allowed on campus during the remote period.
So right now we are certainly trying to have as little on campus as possible. This is the recommendation that we received from health authorities that this is not going to be a particularly good time to have a lot of people on campus. The examples that were cited of laboratory classes may in some cases be ones that we may consider an exception for. Other times, though, some of the lab classes are able to function, remotely for just that 5-week period by scheduling some activities that are more easily done remotely during that time and saving the more hands-on parts for once we've returned to the campus. So I'm certainly encouraging faculty to find a way to function remotely for those 5 weeks. But I've also directed the deans to work with the faculty in their colleges to identify cases where they feel that we really do need to have a class on campus, and we will consider those to see whether we can grant exceptions. But there will be no automatic exceptions. And I, again, strongly encourage faculty to find a way to make this work in remote fashion for those first 5 weeks.
Thanks, Tom. Keep your mic on. The next question is also for you. Will the library be accessible to students next semester on the weekends, during the remote learning? What's the library access looking like?
So the library will be open during the remote access period. The campus will be open during that period. And so I don't know exactly what the library hours will be yet for spring semester, but the library will basically be open for students during that time.
Thanks, Tom. Chancellor, we'll transition back to you. The next question is about commencement. So we're just getting ready for a fall commencement here in a couple of days, but what about spring commencement? What can they expect a decision to be made about spring commencement?
You know, I've shared this with you before. That is such a special day. I'm in kind of mourning this year that we can't see students and greet them, high-five them, see their families. So this is really on top of my mind, and of course, Andrea Cordova's mind, my chief of staff, always. So we're all looking forward to a physical celebration that we can meet in person. So we'll continue to hope for that, and that's the reason we didn't put that out yet, because we still are hopeful. Maybe it can be done in some form. But I just got rein in my hopes, given how this is going to evolve, because vaccines are not going to come to the campus as soon as we would like to see them come. So we need to be thoughtful about this. So just to keep the hope going, give me some more time. Give us some more time to process it. The more time you give us to process it, we are hopeful that we can meet in person. If you push me to make a call right now, I would say we probably had to decide on a virtual commencement, which I don't want to do right now, because I personally enjoy that date tremendously. It's kind of a culmination of all the hard work a campus does.
I apologize. Questions seem to go back and forth between the chancellor and the provost, but that's what's coming in right now. So Provost Christensen, the next question is back to you. So it seems there's been some flexibility granted regarding faculty performance evaluations. As faculty have indicated, it has been difficult to fully meet some of the expectations. Is there any discussion happening for flexibility and performance evaluations for staff? So I've read it faculty first, so I brought it to you, but how about staff? So Chancellor, that may come back to you on that one. I apologize.
I hope that every supervisor is going to be flexible. This is an extraordinary year for all of us. I think we still need to assess based on what happened, but I hope that, again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. I think we can approach everything with compassion, gratitude, grace. I think everyone worked so hard this year. But I still have to leave it to the supervisors to make that call, but we'll continue that conversation in the cabinet. I think the staff have requested that. In fact, we will be discussing it. So I would say stay tuned, but I'm asking everybody to take a very compassionate approach as we move forward, but we still need to be fair within the system that we have. And so other vice chancellors, you want to speak to it? Because I'm sure your folks asked for it as well.
Chancellor, I'll just say that, it was a topic that we started with this week in cabinet, and there are a lot of factors that are associated with this. There's region law and policy with regard to who's required to have an evaluation, both on the faculty side and with regard to our staff. It also makes a difference if they're university staff or classified staff. And so there are a lot of variables that are going into what type of direction that we would provide. I think we're all appreciative of the fact that you started with the word that matters to everybody right now, which is compassion for the energy and the effort that everybody has made this year. And so that has been the primary conversation at cabinet.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I got a whole pile of questions here we're running through. So Chancellor, I believe the next one was for you. So going to from our evaluations to our raises. So when we get merit raises back, will it make up for the lapse from this year? So thoughts on merit raises?
Wow, that's a tough one. Like I said, we are really working hard to get relief on the furloughs right now because I know how hard everyone is working. I would like to take one step at a time. I think people have to be compensated fairly and be given raises. So that's a fundamental belief we all have. But there's a lot at stake right now. I mean, there's a lot of challenges with tuition increases. We may or may not see a tuition increase next year. That's going to have a determinant. We don't know what the state budget is going to look like, how they're going to allocate. So there's multiple of factors that go into deciding if you have money for the raise, because once you give the raise, if we don't have money for other things, that could be a challenge. So it is an important piece. I think we'll continue to stay committed to it. My hopes and dreams are we are looking at the incentive-based budget model so that we can set our own course. And we are working really well with the deans and the rest of the stakeholders. It's a challenging thing to do anytime you bring a change. The whole idea is to increase the size of the pie so that we have more money to pay fair wages to our faculty and staff, give them raises they deserve, so well deserved. So a lot of things are in motion, but we're not at a place today to commit to that yet because we have a few hurdles to cross.
Thanks, Chancellor. We'll give you a break here. Chancellor, I have a question for Chuck, I think, is the Insight Commander. You can help address this one in administration. Are there discussions of long-term post-pandemic opportunities for remote work for staff to allow for better usage of campus spaces?
Yes, that's the short answer. One of the things that we have learned, and this goes back to the question of, positive outcomes from this, we've learned that we have some staff positions, some teams that frankly can sustain their productivity or even improve their productivity through a combination of remote work. And so we will be looking at that as we move forward. I can tell you that on our campus, the demands for space are very high. And so there could be an additive advantage to the idea that we might consider remote work as a permanent solution for certain positions, and that might then create some space on campus that is badly needed in other areas.
Yeah, another person asked a related question to that, Chuck. It says, do you envision going back to a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 type of office presence for staff ever again? That's
a lot more detailed question, right? There are a lot more dynamics going on there. The fact of the matter is that, the predominance of our academic schedule, right, runs during the week. And so many of our support services are geared toward making sure that our faculty are successful in the classroom with students. And so making sure that we, align all of our support to those hours to support the faculty and the students is pretty important. And I don't see us walking away from that. Now, does that mean that we would think about flexible schedules? I think we've learned a lot about that. And so I do envision that will be part of the conversation, but I don't think that that's the first question we'll answer.
So, Chris, just to add on to what Chuck said, I think the most important thing is the mission and vision of the campus and our strategic goals and direction, our strategic plan 2030. So I feel like we should be able to reorganize ourselves in a way that accomplishes our mission. Because at the end of the day, if our students don't succeed, I think we failed in our mission, right? So I think we should be able to organize ourselves, and this has given an opportunity to think in many different ways. So I feel like culture of the campus would be critical in any kind of success as we experiment with it. And my hope is that we will think through this very carefully and really give that opportunity, because today we are at an age, a technology age, that we should be able to work from anywhere and be able to contribute, right? So I think we hopefully can take that, but it's not the same for every position. So I hope we do a lot of learnings, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of creativity and innovation as to how we accomplish our goals in the most thoughtful way and together way possible.
Thanks. All right, changing gears here. We don't have anyone from OIT on the panel today, but there's a question about the Chromebook program. And the question is simply, are we going to continue the Chromebooks, giving those to new students? So, Chancellor, do you want to?
Sure. I'm actually sitting in the IT office, so I just got a thumbs up. So the Chromebook program will continue. It's been highly successful, and I think the type of student body we have, I think this is great that we're able to provide that program, and I'm thankful to the Office of Information Technology for helping make that idea happen. So yes.
Great. This is probably a part Stephanie, part Provost Christensen's question. It says, will there be tighter restrictions on students who want to meet in person for group projects? So I know that's always a challenge. So Tom, you want to take the academic side of student group projects, and Stephanie maybe take the safety side of that?
So I'm not sure what the tighter restrictions are. Now, certainly we are still under the same restrictions that we have been now for a while, where people should be wearing masks, people should be social distancing. Those will continue. So that also applies when students are getting together in group projects, that they are still should be following those guidelines. That isn't changing at all. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the tighter restrictions would be. So the restrictions, though, certainly remain. And, again, certainly for the first 5 weeks, especially when we're working remotely, I would encourage students to also be meeting remotely to work on projects rather than meeting together. So maybe that's the tighter restriction that's being referred to, in which case certainly we're encouraging that during this time when we expect this spike.
Also, talking about opportunities, Chris, this is an opportunity to figure out how well we can do that in the remote environment, right? So I hope that all of us push more harder to say, how can we make things happen in the remote environment? I think I see this as an opportunity. I know it is difficult, but I think this is the time to experiment with these things.
And I would just add that if a group a lot of it depends on where they're meeting. So if they're using one of the study spaces in the library and it's a tight space and the doors are closed, if you have a group project, they're probably all going to be quarantined if somebody ends up testing positive because of that space. So to Tom and the Chancellor's point, being creative in how you do that will actually minimize the risk of how many people might not be able to attend events or class because of it.
Provost Christensen, another student question. It says, what should a student do if a professor still try to meet or give homework during the days off that have been replaced for spring break?
I would suggest that the student contact the relevant department chair for the department that's offering the course and just let the chair know, because that shouldn't be happening. A break, is a break, and that is not a time when there should be additional assignments, that at least nothing that's due. Now, there may be assignments over the break period, things like that. That may extend over that. That always has happened, but there certainly should not be anything due or anything specifically assigned for that break time as break time.
Thanks for clarifying that. Stephanie, a question back for you. Is there any specific guidance on offering vaccinations for our nursing students doing their clinicals in hospitals this semester?
We did discuss that with the health department. We are looking into whether or not the hospitals where they do their clinicals, if they will offer the vaccination. If they do not, then they will probably be included in that 1B, which means they will go to select locations like other external healthcare providers. My guess is, though, if they're in the hospital setting, the hospital will probably include them in their count if they have enough vaccine.
Stephanie, I'll keep this one for you as well. Said, will the campus be accessing more N95 masks for use in lab classes in the spring? So more access to PPE.
I think a department can continue to look into ordering. N95s are still in very short supply. N95 masks, gloves, believe it or not, you can't buy more than 3 boxes of gloves per 8 days right now. Needles are in very short supply. So there's a lot of medical supplies that we still need to limit. If it is one-time use and students are going to keep their mask and continue to use it throughout the semester, I think that's a viable option for those select classes where they're within 6 feet for extended periods of time. So anybody who needs assistance can reach out to me and I can help them with that.
Tying into that, Chuck, this is a question for you. How much longer will the campus provide PPE and cleaning supplies?
We're going to continue to order those. We're anticipating that we would have to provide those at least through spring. Once we get into the spring semester, we'll start looking at what summer's going to look like, but we're not going to throttle that back until we start talking about conversations where masks are not involved. And I think everybody would agree that we're probably going to see masks go away last. So not anytime soon.
Well, we're getting here to the last few minutes of our time together, and Chancellor, of course, there's a couple more questions about spring break. So we'll start with you to hopefully answer these. So they're questioning why is it safer to have two short breaks for spring break? It seems like students will do the same travel just twice instead of once. So thoughts on, again, why we broke it up into two?
Like I said before, there's really no right answer for any of these things. So by restricting in the time when most people will have a break is what the goal was. So by separating it out, hopefully that would be reduced. Like I said, I can't wait for the way we've done things for these traditional ones would come back sooner. But I'll repeat, my plea is please put up with this sacrifice this one time. We hope that it'll take all of us through in a healthy way and don't have to go remote again, is what our goal is, because that's what we're trying to avoid, having a remote semester like some universities have done, because our faculty and staff and students really like to come to the campus and hope that we can continue that. So this is a sacrifice to protect all of us.
All right. Well, my clock says we have just a few minutes left, so I want to leave a few minutes, Chancellor, for you to offer some closing remarks as we wrap up today's town hall. So thank you to our panel for participating today and answering questions. I hope having more time to answer questions today was beneficial to our audience there. So with that, Chancellor, I turn this over to you to bring us home.
Great. So first of all, let me say, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You've done so much this year, and the challenge is not over yet. So I still need you. I still need your help. Without you, we can't help our students, help our faculty, help our staff make this a great campus. So first of all, thank you to you all. I do hope that you take some time for yourself during the holidays to spend some quality time with family as much as you can, and really come back recharged, because without you, we can't move this campus forward. So I wish each and every one of you is safe, healthy, and a wonderful holiday season and a very happy new year. And I hope you're able to connect with the people you care and love. But leave you with a caution, wherever you are, please remember to follow all healthcare and public health guidelines, because we want you to return from break healthy for the start of a successful spring semester. So may the new year be merry and bright, and hope we can, 2020 is almost over. So let's celebrate the new year, which is going to bring better things for all of us. So thank you again.
Well, that brings us to the close of our December town hall. Believe it or not, this is our 9th town hall that we've done, but we will continue hosting these town halls in the January and February and until we get back together again in the future. So look for a calendar invitation for the January town hall coming out soon. Again, thank you everybody for joining us today, and this concludes today's town hall.